dear traveler. The purpose of raw consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. Build bridges. Create happiness. And bring forth new life. We must live in the hope that mankind will draw together. And that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now rise. Follow your conductors. And fear no danger. As you step beyond the veil.
We have a lot to cover with Matt Simon, also known as Matt from Trinidad. He's called into the show many times before, has always been very, very insightful, and has shared some inspiring ayahuasca experiences with us that especially his wife has had. And kind of confirmation of the idea that what we're doing here on Beyond the Veil is actually working, and that other people are feeling the energies as well. So Matt definitely has an ancient soul like we do, and I recognize the ancient soul. I'm just wondering if he recognizes it too, so we will have to have a conversation off air about that at some point, but I'm pretty sure I know who Matt is on an ancient soul level. But then again, I can't tell who anybody is on an ancient soul level. They have to discover it for themselves. And if the two line up, if my intuitions line up, then we can go, okay, cool, we agree on that. If not, then we don't agree on it. But that's neither here nor there. Tonight, we're going to get into the history of Thoth the Atlantean. We're going to get into the Nag Hammadi Library, and we're going to get into Barbelo, mother of all created things within the universe, with all approval of the all. Matt, how are you doing, sir?
I'm great, Chris. How are you?
Very good, man.
Great.
It's nice to finally see you. You know, we've talked to you for hours and hours on the show before, but we've never actually seen you. So, yeah, nice to see you.
It's great. Here's my introduction. Firstly, we must remember who we are, and we must remember what we are capable of. Now, anyone tells you you are weak, who determines that? It's you who's the one to determine that, because the power comes from within you when you believe. Now, the book of Thoth, it's a very unique book. It's very detailed. You have to go over it more than once. And I've been behind that for almost about a month, trying to get certain things out of this book. I've spoke to Chris and Sherry about the book many times on the show, as you all know. But somehow there's more, and I'm looking to go into some of these things with you all.
So the Book of Thoth, is that separate from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or are we talking about one and the same?
It's the same. It's basically the same.
Okay.
What had happened when I did the book itself, when they kind of refined some of the translation in some of the words on like the tablet. So the book is a little more refined.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to read the book then, because I've only read the tablets, and the tablets seem incomplete. Just energetically, I'm picking up on it. They're not quite there yet. And I would go so far as to say that touching the tablets themselves, if anybody knows where the hell they are, we can probably get a better picture from touching them, but I don't know if that's going to happen in this lifetime or not. So how does the book differ? Maybe we can start with the history of Thoth the Atlantean and go into a little more depth than the tablets themselves say.
Okay, so Thoth the Atlantean, he forementioned that where they were from, they were not of this world. And the people that he were among were much more than the little, he more kind of said in a way that they are much higher than the ones that were here before they came. Thoth himself were studying among the things of the deep. He was just like an ordinary person before. And he really went into the studies of what it is. He used to look at the stars and used to wonder what exactly it is. What is life about? Where are we? Where are we coming from? Where are we looking to go? And from these things is where the first time he left and he went out of his body and he began to see and understand what was going on. But before that, his father called him into the temple and asked him and give him certain commands, certain things, tell him certain secrets of certain things, which he mentioned was Thoth, if I am correct about it.
What did he mention?
Okay, so basically, let me just get the notes here.
You know, I need to go back and reread the Emerald Tablets, ladies and gentlemen, because there is a lot of information in there, and they say that you're supposed to read it 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, something like that. And it continues to evolve in understanding.
Right. It's just like that guy's quote from the break music thing that you did, where he says, is that song that you did? If you read a book, you'll have a golf ball size understanding. But if you expand your consciousness, then you read the book, more understanding and more wakefulness. It's like the first time you read it, you understand it on one level. And then the next time you read it, you understand it on a deeper level underneath that. It's like an onion with layer after layer after layer of understanding from one book.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking for the note here. It's just so much.
Well, let's start from the beginning then.
Okay.
Let's start from the beginning of your notes. That way you can just go systematically.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so first I want to touch something that hasn't been touched for quite a while. And I have been doing a lot of research on this. This is in the Nagumati library. It's the book of John. And in this book, it has a statement where it was mentioned of Barbelo. And this name has not been mentioned in any other script, any other text whatsoever. Now, what I've been looking into is it was foretold. Now, this story would have come way before even where we are now, where we enter into this realm. Now, this is the first power, the glory of Babylon, the perfect glory of all eons, the glory of revelation, glorified virgin spirit. It was who praised him and thanked him and came forth, the first being that came forth from the all. Now, based on the text, this being created all other beings. It was a feminine spirit that was split from the all himself. Now, she was given foreknowledge. She was given invisibility, the virgin spirit, the invisible one. She was given all these things. And then she started to create other beings. Based on the text, one of the beings, which the two spirits came together and formed Christ, which is the Son, the one who is there to represent man.
Interesting.
Have you ever heard anything of this before, Chris?
I have not, no.
Mm-mm.
But what I'm getting from this is that there was one source. It split itself, created a feminine counterpart for itself. Then they both created together, or maybe from essences of themselves, the Son, or the Christ, the Christos. And from there, all of creation was then created.
Right. Now, everyone is mentioning Sophia, or let's say the machine. But before all of that even happened, she created a son, which we all know, which was Yashubet, which was created not from the two of them coming together, but from a Thoth, either Thoth, according to the text.
Yeshua.
Now, yes.
Okay, so is this different than Yaldabaoth? Or would you say that Yalda both and Yeshua are one and the same?
I believe they are one and the same.
I think so too.
Now,
Somebody
yeah,
just came into the chat a minute ago and said, Jesus Christ is the way. I said, yeah, it's the way to get trapped in the matrix. I think you're onto something, Matt. So continue, please.
okay. So here's where it gets quite interesting. Now, she requested again grant indestructibility and he consent. When she came into being, Babylon had requested for him to grant her eternal life in the invisible spirit content. Then life came forth, which was eternal life. Then the spirit consent again. Now, when he had consent, the truth came forth, and they attended and glorified the invisible excellent spirit and his Babylon, the one of whose sake and through the foreknowledge and indestructibility and eternal life and truth. Now, this directly means that when some of us goes out and we say we feel this loving, feminine, motherly spirit. Now, yes, I don't believe that we actually in the real world. This is an illusion, but is a direct copy of the real world, which I forementioned on the last broadcast, that we could actually be on Earth, in a system on Earth, and this is not the real Earth. Now,
Okay, you know what's funny? Let me jump in for just a moment because this reminds me of a DMT experience I had a long time ago. And this was, again, it's so funny because I keep mentioning experiences from 2010, 2011, but that time period right there between 2010 and 2012 is when I had the most revelations. I just didn't make sense of them until now. But I was asking for the 1,000th time what the Earth is. And it showed me this sphere, this blue sphere. It didn't look like Earth. It didn't look like, it was like a blue energetic ball. And this one ball crashed into another ball. And Isis, the goddess, whatever, she wailed, like, you know, a mother wailing. It's that deep, that coming from the stomach all the way up. And it was this horrible, horrible wailing. And then she rushed down into this sphere and she put a little dome on top inside of this ball, and she preserved whatever life she could inside of that little dome. And so I started to ask myself, you know, maybe the flat earth and the round earth both have some truth in the sense that we're inside of a little dome in a large, large sphere. So it appears to be not as curved as we believe it to be, but we're still inside of that little sphere. But also, I mean, it's a half sphere, like a little dome, but we're actually inside a larger sphere, which now I think you're talking about the same kind of deal, that we're inside of a system in the real world.
Correct. Now, to make this a little more easier to understand, here's the way I will look at everything. I take this entire reality as code and computer language. It's what I'm doing. I'm breaking it down in order for me to understand based on the current technology and the current things that we have to compare what we are in. So from my perspective, the way how I would see this is, you are in a computer game, you are a character. Each character in the computer game will see everything from their perspective when they look around. Now, there are loopholes where that character can end up outside of the graphical constraints, which also is a system that creates the graphics for the game other than with the coding, doing the commands and so on. So if you go on the outside, now you would see the view that you are seeing from inside is no longer the same view you will be seeing from outside. Now you have an overview of how the entire thing looks from the beginning to the end. And it does not look the same way it looked when you are inside it.
Yes.
Now, this is what I believe Thoth did when he went out and he saw the overview of every single thing, what it is like, what it looks like from the outside. Yet still, he did it while he was in the game itself, within the matrix. But he bypassed the coding that make us see from our perspective and sees it from outside. What do you think about that, Chris? Like an overlay of everything.
Yeah, I think so. I've had experiences where I found myself on this ship, and I don't know what to make of this. I found myself on a ship, and I was staring at a ball of energy, and I was asking these little mantis-like beings, "What is this?" And they're like, "That's the universe. That's where everything exists. That's where souls exist inside of this little space right here." And it looked from the outside looking in like energy. We use code, just for lack of a better term, because it's something that we
Yeah.
can relate to on a
Yes, we
technological,
can read.
but it's not really code in the sense like, question marks and equal signs and, different commands and things like that. It's an energy. And shamans have been tapping into this energy from the beginning of time, and they just described it as energy. You say energy work, and people are like, "Oh yeah, no, I totally get it." You say code, and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what are you talking about?" We're just talking about it in a more technological
Yeah.
way. But
Aspect.
I've seen from that perspective too, so I totally understand. Like, we look up at the dome and we see what we see. We look from the dome in, and all it is an energy at that point. It's an energy overlay over everything.
Yeah, true. Okay, so this is the general overview of how this works. Now, I see things more from a code aspect because I'm more technologically um, inclined in terms of understanding technology. And this is some advanced stuff here we are in. Even though, yes, it's using energy, but this is far beyond our remembrance. Because remember this, Chris, we already knew these things once before. This is not our first journey here. This is not our first time here. This version of me that you see in here is not the first time. I've always been around. The thing is, every time we came back, we keep forgetting. But one key thing to always remember, you always have one single reminder within yourself that always reminds you that something is off. Every single one of us. If it is a certain ability that you may stifle for years, if it is the way how you think, something you always have that is just off and no one else around you actually has the same. I believe all of us has that same experience. If you look into yourself, you always realize there's something that has always been there that has me always looking back to it and saying, is something wrong here? Is something off about this place? Why everyone is just going along where the river is going? And I'm seeing from a different point of view, like something is not quite right.
I know. I know exactly what you mean, and you're right. See, this is what I talk about when I talk about the memory wipe. And every time we come in, we lose all of this information, and then we spend lifetime after lifetime trying to get to it. And in some lifetimes, we do get to it, and then we go through the wheel of reincarnation, and then boom, everything is wiped again. Which I think is a broken system. That's not the way it was supposed to work, but that's the way it was working for a long time. Now, I do remember in the 13th tablet, though, Thoth talks about creating the pyramid in the eye. And
Yeah.
between the three eyes there, place the consciousness between the pyramid and the three eyes at the point of death, and navigate that way, out that way, and you will be able to remember and retain the information and become the masters of life and the masters of wisdom. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Now, that is a little tricky because you need to be comfortable with being out of your body and in the realm. Now, the main thing that cripples a lot of people is fear. You need to snap out of that. And you can't bluff it. You need to believe who you really are, remember who you really are in order to remove fear. Fear is the number one thing that cripples most of us. Like sometime I'm in the chat and some of the chat's comments is like, I felt something dark or chilly and I'm like scared, and it's like, why are you scared? You are much greater than that.
It's
You are
fun.
much bigger than that. You should pity that
It's
darkness.
funny you mentioned this, because somebody had just sent me right before we came on air a video of, and the guy, it's a big channel. The guy's got like 384,000 subscribers. And it's a video about how evil DMT is and how some people have quote unquote attempted to do DMT in the pyramids. And I'm like, no, dude, we did DMT in the pyramids. We didn't attempt it. But that it opens you up to possession. And so that's the narrative here, that we're running around here possessed now by these dark entities and dark forces that were in the pyramid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm at a point when I laugh in the face of demons, and demons cringe and they just run in fear from me, not the other way around, because I've remembered who I am. And this is what I want to see the BTV people get to. These are the states of no fear, not fearing the negative energy, being able to handle the negative energy, being able to be the warriors. That's what we're supposed to do, is come here to conquer the negative energy, come here to stand face to face with it. And we can't do it if we're in fear.
Correct. Fear is our number one crippling thing. And I've read so much, I've listened so much in the Tablet of Thoth. I believe it also had something mentioned about that also, if I could recall correctly, where fear is something that we need to overcome. Now, fear is so bad that it's our number one enemy in this whole thing, because you can't make a move if you are fearful. So if anyone asks a question, how do I overcome that? The first thing I would say, you need to go within yourself. The reason you're even looking at this is because you have something within you that already make you know that you are more than just an NPC.
Yes.
And with that said and done, you now will have something within you that you can search and pull out. And when you realize who you really are, then you will start talking like, who made this decision? I did. Who created this? I did. Now, this may sound like ego, but at the end of the day, when you realize who you really are, it's way above ego. And this is what Chris get bashed with a lot. Like, he's so egoistic and so on. But the thing is, he's not. He's far bigger than that. He looks at ego and feel pity because he knows that was a place that you once were.
Mm-hmm. We've been there. We've all been there. That's the thing. That's the thing about being in the Matrix, 100 times 10, is that we've experienced everything that there is. I mean, I had a past life recollection where I was a mafia hitman and I killed indiscriminately. And it was a hard recollection and hard truth to face. Like, I lived a lifetime where I was so in the dark. Because and when we say in the dark, I'm starting to realize that in the dark means not being able to remember who you are, coming into the Matrix completely mind wiped. And I've been in those situations where I've been so mind wiped that I thought a mafia hitman was the best thing for me to do with my existence, or that incarnation. So we've seen it all. We've done it all.
Now, about that whole perspective, the way how I see this, let's say you came into the Matrix, immediately you would be running on the programming that is all around you. I remember a time I coded and I broke down programming and codes. And I break it down as far as Earth programming, then it comes down to nation, countries, religion, then we get into tribes, get into races, we get into family, we get into business, and it goes all the way. Everything is a programming. You're being programmed from the time you're born till the day you die. Now, the thing is, once you remember who you are, you can choose which programming you want to continue with and which program you want to put aside. Now, if we don't remember who we are, what happens to us is that we go along with the programming. If your programming is set for you to be in life, to be, let's say something good like a president or a mayor, then you will go ahead with that unconsciously, and you will live your life, and you will pursue this all the way to the end, and you will die, and you will never remember anything. But from the time you wake up and you know what is going on, you can say, okay, this aspect of my life, I want to change this. Because we can make the change from there. And when we do make the change, this change ripples out and creates what I believe is another reality. That's how we can see so many different realities when we go into the realm. We see ourselves doing different things, looking slightly different ways. This is because of the changes that a conscious being can do within this matrix. Now, this only exists in this way, inside of the matrix. In the real world, we can't do these things.
Right. I have I've come to that conclusion as well, that these extra abilities that we have within the Matrix can't be done outside because we're inside of code. So everything works here because of code. It's just like being able to manipulate a video game or a cheat code or something like that. We can find all these cheat codes, but it doesn't work in the real world.
Correct. Now, what I've also discovered, Chris, and this take me a while to discover this. When I have met my wife, Sherry, that cat looks really loved.
There she is, right there.
Yeah. So
he says
she
Kitty looks
was
very loved.
She was totally not aware of anything. All she knew is that when she was growing up, that she was different in terms of some of the things she may see, some of the things she may understand, certain things that is not of the natural cause that many around her don't know and understand. Now, when she tries to explain this to the others, her peers, this is not being related properly to them because they don't understand, they don't have what it takes into them to understand these things. So these things are normally mentioned as that's evil, forget about that.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's multifaceted. So you have the NPCs that don't have these abilities and they don't feel like we do. They don't see like we do. They're just kind of running programs and running scripts, and they're told all of this stuff is evil. And then we're told all of this stuff is evil because they don't want us remembering our own power. And it all comes from a centralized point. I call it the artificial intelligence. But again, we're using technological language of 2019. It's much bigger than artificial intelligence. It's much bigger than a computer simulation. It's just, as I've said before, that's the best language we have to describe it at this point.
True. Now, in all of this, Chris, there are so many things started to come within me, so many remembrance. And one of the things I slightly touch on the last time I called was that we are stuck in here, and that's because that has something to do with Seth. And I can't remember properly, but I was part of that timeline, and
I know you were.
I was there, and you were there.
I know.
We were all there.
Yep.
We got trapped. We went to assist, and we got trapped.
I know.
Seth has his army in here also, and this guy wants all the power. So we are trapped here. We cannot get our consciousness back out. And he is still out there roaming scot-free. And we are fighting our way to get out of this because the longer we stay here, is the more distant we get from our true self.
That is so true. Yep. And that's why this life is so important, because we've been given an opportunity to all connect with each other and all start to remember who we are and where we came from and what we're doing here and what our real job is. And it seems like it's real serious now.
Well, you know what I find amazing is how we all seem to be able to find each other. It's almost like we have a beacon, and we get together, and we've done this before. We've done this many times before, and we failed in the past. And we
feel miserably.
Yeah. So I'm thinking now, okay, how do we not fail this time? This is our last time. I feel that this is our last time. There's no more after this.
No.
And then who knows what happens after this? I think system shutdown. I mean, any way it goes, system shutdown. If the system is shut down while we're still in it, we're screwed, basically. But I think this time we're going to be successful because of that urgency and because we're able to remember who we are. I mean, we didn't even have the pyramid until the late 1800s.
Right.
That was gone. That technology was gone. We have that technology now in this incarnation. We got all the advantages we didn't have before. We're going to do this. We've already done it.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you can remember, Chris, but back then, when you were going into the Matrix, the first time you came, can you remember who you were?
Could I remember who I was the first time?
Yes, the first time you came in.
You mean like as in
Pick the energy. Pick up the energy.
do I remember my incarnation, like my name, or did I remember who I was back then?
Okay, so what I want for you to try and think about, do you remember your energy signature? Like, who were you representing back then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know that.
All right.
I can't
Now,
say it though.
of course, I don't want you to say it.
Okay.
We'll talk about it more off air.
Oh my God.
It's
Okay,
not fair
so
Because
combo.
if I say it, they're gonna freaking lynch me again and
Yeah.
nail
Yep.
me to a tree or tie me up in a rope or bury me in a cave or they
Shit,
always
all
do
three
that.
of us.
Yeah.
All three of us.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I came here, I would, in the last reincarnation, I still have the birthmark. Now, I don't know if you're aware that birthmarks are a sign of the last, if you have any external womb that you die, you come back with a birthmark to remember.
Yes, I think so.
Mhm.
I think
Great.
Cherie's shoulder pain is
Yeah.
from an injury from a previous life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been pretty lucky in the sense that I don't have any scars from previous lives. I don't have any birthmarks or anything like that.
I have neck pain from being decapitated.
I'm solid as a
It,
rock.
it only
Ugh.
happens from the last, the previous one carries on one particular birthmark to remember. So if you doesn't have anything physical, that means you die from something more or less non-physical. That
Interesting.
particular death, yes, that particular death that take your final breath was not because of something physically, externally did damage to you.
If I was if the last life that I remember, which is the Mafia Hitman life, that was
Yeah.
around the 1920s, and there seems to be a gap
Yeah.
between the 1920s and now, so I think that was the last incarnation back then. If time is moving sequentially and the 1920s happened before this lifetime happened, I mean, obviously it happened before, but if there were, weren't any out of order, I'm pretty sure that I was electrocuted in the electric chair
That
during that
explains.
life.
That explains why. So basically, the way of how you died, your brain itself, when you were executed, you died from your brain first, then your body died after. Hence, you will not have a sign of any birthmarks.
That's maybe also why when I speak, I'm so shocking.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, I has one on my left leg, and that is due to I was killed by a single fatal wound that I bled out from. Now, when I came back, I tried to select this particular race. Now, what had happened? I'm end up here where I am now. Now, I try to follow the origin of this race, which is the Africans, going back all the way back into ancient Egypt. And for some reason, I can't get it done where I am now, because what had happened over the years, it had the Spaniards and the English, when they were fighting for land, they went across the world and they were conquering. Now, all the indigenous people from where I am are all basically extinct due to this. They were used, they were killed in brutal ways under the name and the cross of the Vatican. Bloodshed across the entire Caribbean land. And now the land is filled with more or less people who weren't originally there, who were brought in through slave trade. Now, with this being said and done, I can't even use lineage to trace the way back to Africa. If I try to use my surname or my great and surname, what it goes back to is the surname of the slave master, which either came from Spain or from Britain. So there's no way of really tracking anything back from there.
We find the same to be true with the Native Americans here. I can't really find any lineage going back besides my grandmother, who was a Kickapoo shaman. But even, I mean, even her records are not in the tribe. I tried to get membership with the Kickapoo tribe, and they couldn't find anything to do with her. I think one of the issues is not only did they go around and conquer everything. I mean, you know, the Spaniards did the same thing here in the Americas too. That's how the Mexicans are actually half Spaniard, half Native. That's how that whole culture came to be. But you know, what they did, they went around, they took all the secret knowledge, but the problem is that the natives and the Africans never kept any records. So even if we can go back and try to find our descending lineage, there's just no records because those cultures just didn't do that.
Yeah. Now, based from a little piece of information that I got, there were traces of recording, but these things were already taken based on exploit of the land. So most likely, Chris, I believe most of these things, which I was watching a show on Rex channel, I believe it was sometime earlier on this week, where he was speaking to one of the guys who used to translate the Bible for the Vatican. And the guy was exposing that some of these things are within the Vatican.
Interesting. Yeah. You know, I feel the need to play this song that I've been working on and take a quick break because this song kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. Matt, I'm wondering if you can recognize the lyrics of the song. And ladies and gentlemen, if you can tell me in the chat too, if you recognize the lyrics of the song. And we will take a quick break. We'll be right back with Matt Simon right here on Beat Simon.
My dear traveler, the purpose of raw consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. Build bridges. Create happiness. And bring forth new life. We must live in the hope that mankind will draw together. And that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now rise. Follow your conductors. And fear no danger. As you step beyond the veil.
All right, jumping back into it, the topic of the show is the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And Matt Simon is our guest. We're talking about past lives as well, remembering the past lives, creating the circle and all of the wisdom and knowledge that is hidden within yourself too, right here on Beyond the Veil. So, Matt, we have a question from the chat room. Do you think there's some people that don't remember or can't remember their past lives? And I would say, yeah, I think a lot of us have come in not being able to remember our past lives. But your thoughts, first of all, you know, maybe a better question would be, how can we better remember our past lives?
Okay, so yes, you can come and not remember, but eventually you would. Now, how can you remember your past life? Now, there are many different things it has, which I've never tried before. I'm going to tell you things I never tried. I'm going to tell you how I did remember. Now, I have did studies. There are people who did hypnosis, where they say you can get into your subconscious side of your brain and pull those things out. And remember, because each piece, what they call it, is a signature print, a spiritual signature print. Now, the way how I remember, I just think about things deeply and I just remember it just comes to me. So I'm in a way different.
You know, I agree with you as well. And I would say that Sekhmet is here. She's saying hello. She's like, oh, hey, I know that guy. I would say that that's the way to do it. You know, you've got to remember your own past lives. Anybody, in my opinion, that's telling you, okay, well, here's a past life reading on you. You were this person, you were this person, that's not your past life. That's their past lives. We can have our own intuitions about who somebody is, but in my opinion, the most powerful is when, number one, you remember it, and then number two, other people recognize it. And then at that point, it becomes more factual, except for the smaller past lives, like the mafia hitman, for example. That's not a very important life, so I don't really expect anybody to remember me from back then. But again, those are in my opinion, the realer ones where you look back and you say, oh, okay, I remember doing this. I remember doing this. It's not, oh, I was Cleopatra in a past life, or I was Mark Antony, or I was this, or I was that. That seems, I think, like very egoic type stuff. So when you come across that, you got to throw that to the side first, and then go, all right, let me get all the ego stuff out of the way. Then I can delve into my real past life, and it's almost like a tunnel. You remember one, and then another, and then another, and then another, and another. And I think a lot of people have the ability to be able to recall this. In my opinion, the plants just make it a whole lot easier. I mean, the plants are like a surefire way. Sit down and drink the Aya and let it take you into these other realms. I know your wife had a really, really awesome ayahuasca experience that you were sharing with us. And I don't know if you want to get into that briefly, but it was really powerful, one that I've talked about many times on the show.
Yeah. Yes, the plants, I didn't mention the plants, but Chris just covered that. The plants is one of the ways, but a lot of people are very skeptic. What I'm here to tell you, don't be. Now, here's a little joke that I must tell you all. I will listen in a review on YouTube with someone who took this. Now, this person is definitely an NPC. So she was like a little curious, decided, I'm going to try this. And what she did, she left her body and went over the neighbor's house. And that was like the most scariest thing in the whole world. And like, I will never do this again. And it was so ironic. It's like, you only went there because you exist only in here. You can't go anywhere else.
That's interesting. I have it muted because the ice cream man decided that he wanted to pay everybody a visit right now. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but yeah, it's
right
all day today. It's been construction, and then the ice cream man, and then the lights flashing, and all kinds of nonsense. So I think we're hitting a nerve today. But this experience that this person you were telling me, I think it was your wife who did the Aya and then went into like past lives and near lives, and then was talking about your ex-girlfriend too, and then a baby that was kind of trapped, and going through the wheel of reincarnation, and even to the point of being able to see her own death here in this incarnation, the date, the time, how it happens, when it happens, et cetera, et cetera. And my reply to that at the time was, well, now that you're aware, you can always divert that. You can always move it. We're bound to the stars until we are aware of the stars. Then at that point, then we take our free will back, in my opinion. But tell us a little bit more, please.
Okay. So you are right about that. You are definitely right. The stars definitely is one of the major things that control our way we think. In fact, that's one of the major programming that we do have, that it's something that is really out of our control. Just the way how I do things, I always seek detail in everything, and a certain depth in order to fully get some sort of satisfaction. I don't just go, okay, this is black and that's nice. That's a nice color. I like black because that's black. I will be like, why is this black? Why black is black? Why it's not a different color? I do deep research and I realize black is a color that absorbs light. And if it's absorbed light, the reason why it's absorbing light is because of I forget the name of the word when I did the research, but I totally understand what it is all about now. And it's not reflecting the light back. So that's why it appears to be black. All darker colors absorb light in some sort of way that is not being reflected back. So it has a certain percentage of the way how it absorbs light. Now, getting back onto the topic, she took the brew. And she went on the longest experience I've ever seen anyone went in my entire life. It was basically insane. She was on this trip for about roughly 14 hours, 14 to 17 hours. She's in a chat right now. Let me just confirm.
She's welcome to come on and join us if she'd like. So just throwing the invite out there. But it was, when you described it, it was powerful and it was confirmation. And it
Yeah,
confirmed a lot of what we're talking about here on BTV. There goes the freaking lights again. Now all of a sudden they start to, it's just all kinds of weird interference tonight. I think Mrs. Geo might be conjuring up some spirits with her kitty cats. Where's Spastet?
She is in her drawer.
Oh, yeah.
In their drawer.
In their drawer.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have a drawer that they like to jump in whenever they want to be alone.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, take us away, Simon, please.
yeah. So this went on for approximately about 17 hours straight. She went through every single thing. Now, this was done after Chris and Sherry did the stuff that they did, the work that they did in the temple. And it's the most bizarre thing ever. She went back to a past life. She went through my past life, a certain aspect of it, things that were causing blockage. And when she finished with all of that, she went and did a critical life review of what was hampering her from being able to believe and move forward. Something that was hurting her, and it went into her subconscious, which is a very dangerous thing and very good at the same time. And it was causing a subconscious blockage. Hence the reason it literally shaped the way she were up to the time that we actually met. And
Wow.
even up to the time that she actually took the brew. So this is something very, very deep. Everyone need to start working on their subconscious mind, because there's a lot of things in there. All the programming that you receive throughout life goes there. And the way you think, the way you act, it's basically coming from there. Once you do something without thinking twice or thinking too much, it comes from there. And in a higher level of that, then we still have where the stars and the alignment of the universe. Because remember, we are in the matrix, and our body is an NPC body. So it's directly programmed to move by the law of this entire construct. So all Taurus will be basically the same way. They will think alike. All Scorpio will basically think alike. And that's the reason for these things. Even though you have different individual personalities in between, you still have great similarities based on where you're born, what star you fall under, what planet was within your scope when you were born.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, Cherie, as I've said before, is constantly doing my transits, and I get in trouble when I don't read them. So there's a lot of truth to the similarities and the overlay. Maybe they're overlay programs. Maybe that's what it is. And the stars just kind of send these different program changes through energy into the consciousness. Or, another perspective is that when the stars align in a certain way, they're sending an energy to the matrix, which may not necessarily have an influence over organic consciousness, but it has influence over the NPCs. So when you have a bad transit day, all the NPCs just act crazy. And they're all around you at all times. And then you can start acting crazy too in response to them if you're not aware of the stars.
Yeah. Now, it does have influence over us, but that is our NPC body, not really us. Because we can change our path at any given time. We can go along with what our body is programmed to do, our life. And then when we see a certain junction, we can immediately change paths. So this is something that I'm putting out there for the viewers, that you have to be conscious of these things. What I do that make life a little simplified for me, and I taught her the same thing, is to look at everything from the aspect of understanding how it operates from behind the scenes. So if you are dealing with a certain type of people in certain environment, they are programmed and coded in a certain way to operate and act a certain way. Now, you having the foreknowledge of this can now put you in an advantage where you can change the way you go about in order not to make clash and get through things a lot smoother. Some aspects you need to go rough and straight through. Some aspects you need to lay back, let things pass. Some things you have to kind of move to the side and wiggle through your way through. You don't use the same thing for every single aspect, every single thing that comes your way. You have to use different methods. You have to be wise. Now, this understanding just came to me just like that from just reading through the book of Thoth over and over and over. And that is the thing. There are hidden knowledge that just comes into you. It just comes into you. I'm inviting everyone to go through these. It may take time. It may take you hours apart, but start going through them. It will benefit us all.
Yes, I agree. The most interesting part, we mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to know if you had any insight on this. Creating the pyramid with the eye, with the three eyes, and then pushing the consciousness through into the death experience, and from that point being able to retain the memories of the past lives. Can you expand or expound upon that at all?
Okay, so creating the pyramid with the three eyes. Now, I remembered that he mentioned that there are three. Oh, what's this? It is man, the body. There is the spirit, and then he separated the spirit from the energy within you, which is the light and darkness. So basically, that is a pyramid, these three aspects. When you create the pyramid now, don't take this as any kind of occult or any sign like that. It's not. Now, this pyramid, when you put all those three together, and in his one of his scrolls, he has the method where he's telling you what to do, where to face, how to meditate, and how to achieve these things. Now, you have to keep in mind, you need to be ready for this. This is not something that you're going to do as a joke or something you want to just explore. This is not that. This is very serious. You can't go into those places and never return back here. So it's something to take very serious. But what I'm thinking, when he says that, what I get from it, you have to be able to balance all three. So you balance the body, you balance the spirit, you balance the energy, and you focus it straight through the center of your core being, and you'll be able to be pulled magnetically straight to the door of Omenti.
It's in the 13th tablet. I'm looking at it here. Great is the secret, yet easy to master. Giving to thee the mastery of time. When upon thee death fast approaches, fear not, but ye know you are masters of death. Relax thy body, resist not with tension. So don't fight it. When it comes, just give into it. That's what we teach ourselves and what we train ourselves to do in the ayahuasca experience. Yeah. First thing about the DMT experience, you want to fight it. But Thoth is saying here, don't fight it. Don't resist with tension. Just give into it. Because when you're resisting with tension, then you are focused on resisting with tension instead of being focused on what you need to do in order to magnetically pull your consciousness to a menti. Relax thy body, resist not with tension. Place in thy heart the flame of thy soul. So bring the consciousness back into the heart space. Swiftly then sweep it to the seat of the triangle. So bring the consciousness, this is just what I'm getting from it. Bring the consciousness from the forehead here all the way down to the heart, back around as quickly as possible. Sweep down, come back up to where the seat of the triangle. Here's the triangle, the three eyes right here. So the seat of the triangle. Hold for a moment, then move to the goal. This, thy goal, is between thine eyebrows. Again, the goal is between thine eyebrows, the third eye there. Thy goal is between thine eyebrows, the place where the memory of life must hold sway. So the brain, bring it from the third eye to the heart, back to the brain to retain those memories of who you were. Hold thou thy flame here in thy brain seat until the fingers of death grasp thy soul. Then as thou pass through the state of transition, surely the memories of life shall pass too. So again, he's talking about coming back up, grabbing all of this and holding on to all of that knowledge and taking it with you. Then shall thee pass shalt, I hate the way this is written, but it is what it is. Then shalt the past be as one with the present. Then shalt the past. So the past shall be one with the present. So we're uniting the past and the present. Then shall the memory of all be retained. Free shalt thou be from all retrogression. The things of the past shall live in today. So he's talking about bringing all of those memories and just kind of, I guess what I'm getting from it is kind of creating that singularity and that single point of consciousness to where past, present, and future is all merged into one, and taken out into the next plane of existence or into a menti or, wherever the soul travels to after that. That's the end of the 13th tablet right there. Your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah. Now, how you broke it down is much correct. All right. As I forementioned, all of these must go into sync. It must come together, come into your inner being, into your inner core being, and then you focus that energy, and it will magnetically pull you towards where that door is. It will open to you. Now, when all these energies come together in perfect balance, it's going to create this signature appearance, like how the doors were opening for you, Chris, when you were when you were doing your work.
Yeah.
To go and do the reset. That's because you was in perfect balance and you had the perfect energy print. So in other words, you actually did that same action and you wasn't aware of it.
That's interesting because my body was completely and totally out of balance. So I don't know. There goes the lights again. Look at this. This is ridiculous. They're flashing right when I said that. I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of energetic signature here. When the lights start flashing, we're onto something big. But anyways, so yeah, as I was traveling through, it was like doors opening one after another, and my symbols were there on the walls of all of these hallways. But it was so weird because the symbols didn't appear as they should appear, just when you write it out. It was only the movement of me moving so quickly through these halls that made the symbols appear on the hallways. And it was like, okay, this door's open for you, this door's open for you, this door's open for you, this door's open for you. It was a very interesting, very, very intense experience. I'm just thinking back on it, and yeah, I think I was able for just a moment to just bring everything into perfect balance and just navigate through this.
Yeah. So that is exactly what he's speaking about. And this is a hard state to reach. Chris has it. He knows it from experience. This is a very hard state to reach. If you're doing it by the method of meditation, it's going to take you quite a while. You will really have to go deep into it to get that done.
I agree. And I don't know. I don't know if it could be done through meditation. I think it could be, but
it could.
This is why Buddhists, though, they spend their entire lives at a monastery meditating, and it's like, well, I don't have my entire life to spend in a monastery. I've got things to do. I've got to pass my flame from one person to another, I can't do it while I'm sitting in a monastery. So we've got to find other quicker propulsion systems.
It could be done because Thoth mentioned if you put two and two together, the way to extend your life itself, because he lived thousands of years and he said it was by his own will. And he explained how the mortal man can live way beyond the normal age that your coding was reprogrammed for you to live. And he gave us the direct method how to get about this. Now, I remember in a previous chat, you were speaking about this and someone asked a question. But the pole is shifting. How do we know where it's north? It's very simple. Use a compass. Compass, no matter where the pole shifts, the compass will pick up where your poles are. It's very simple. It's not something too difficult. All right. So, if the person is still in the comment today in this show, this is the answer to that. But if you really want longevity, it's all there in the tablet.
That's true. When one of the poles is no longer in balance, that's when death is approaching. When death is approaching, it's only because the light has been lost.
Yeah.
It is right there. It's about the balance. And then I've always felt, well, not always, but I mean, since I really started on my journey and really started remembering who I was, I've always known, let me put it like that we're not going to die until we're ready to die. I mean,
Yeah.
when I came back from the pyramid, I was almost ready to leave because I thought I had nothing else to do. And there was a few months there that I was like, what am I even doing here? And then all of a sudden it was this new life that was breathed into me. And I started, you know, what I told myself is I want to be 20 again. Now, obviously I can't go back and be 20 again, but I can start to build myself up and feel like I'm 20, move like I'm 20, work like I'm
Right.
20, but still retain the wisdom of being my age, which I never
Ancient
really
world.
say my age
Yeah.
because I don't want to
No.
reveal my age. But if we do this consistently, I wonder,
That's
maybe
quite
we
true.
don't have to die.
That's quite true. And that is exactly what he's saying. So when you put two and two together, if you have a very lengthy work to do, he said your strength will be preserved as of youth in your old age, in terms of you're living way longer. You live out your children, you live out your grandchildren, you keep on living, and you never die. I don't know how in this society with everything being tracking you, how you're going to make out when people realize you are getting old and the ones who under you are dying and you're still alive. But
You know, do you have kids?
not as yet.
I don't
I
either.
didn't plan to. I didn't plan to in this but you know how the wife is.
Is she pregnant?
No,
Oh.
not a,
Oh, okay. So,
yeah, but she wants to.
she wants to. See, this is what I'm wondering, and it's just something that I've been kicking around with Cherie. But what if our mission here is a lot longer than what we believe it to be? You know, we believe it to be 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 years if we're lucky. What if we are some of those that continue to go on and on and on? And that's why we have the instinct inside of us, don't have kids, because it's got to be the worst thing to watch your children go. And so we're going to live as long as we need to in this incarnation. And maybe that will be outliving our children, outliving our grandchildren, et cetera, if we chose to go down that path.
Yes. Now, honestly, if you ask me, I believe that you all are going to be here very long. We have a lot of work to do. Now, the very long for us within here is very short outside. Just like, again, the only analysis you can actually use to understand these things is comparing the game at time in a game, how it runs. Like, let's say World of Warcraft, which I hear you mention a lot on the show. From night to day in the game, it may be, let's say, about 3 to 4 hours would change between night and day time in the game. But in real life, that's just like, that's not even a full day. It's like that's about 1 hour for
That's
you.
true. Yeah, what we found out in the pyramids, it's roughly, and this is just roughly, but it's about 1 year for every minute in the real world. I mean, that's how much of a time difference that we have here. Well, we were told that the reset, well, we weren't told, we just initially, instinctively knew it. The reset was going to take, I don't remember off the top of my head, it was like 4 minutes and 25 seconds, or it was an exact number. And I got to go back to the videos and watch it again. But we did the math and calculated it out, and it comes out to like, I want to say December 2022 or 2024, something like that. I don't remember again, but you know, we did the calculations and we were basically, we came to the realization, yeah, it's only going to take a few minutes, but we're going to have a lot to go through here while we're in this time space.
Yes, correct. Chris, before I forgot, I just want to kind of go back and address the mother of all. Now, I'm getting into this because I believe all this story happened way before this whole technological advancement in terms of the matrix was made, which we call the matrix. All of this has happened outside, and Thoth and his who were there before even us were all outside. And these things, this whole construct that we are in now, is created eons after all of these things which we read in the Nagamati. Now, so here's how I try to put this and link everything all together, bring it into one. When she created, she mentioned that she created other beings, and they went forth and created their own universes and their own realm. Her son was ashamed to her, so she tried to hide him in a cloud, away from the others who she already created. Now, when she did that, she put him away and he went forth and created his own universe. And all he knew was his mother, because he wouldn't reveal on in terms of he wouldn't introduce to the others. So he was thinking it was only his mother alone that was existent. So we are all under his creation in terms of all the physical aspects of this universe. But the spark came from the all. But it was manifested through the mother, the feminine spirit.
Interesting. I have some thoughts on that. And you say they created universes. I'm wondering if they created different simulations. So now we have maybe computer programs that have created one simulation and another simulation and another simulation and another simulation, and that's where we get the multiverse. Hold on.
My fellow travelers, always remember to walk uprightly and circumscribe your desires as we travel upon the level of time to that undiscovered state of consciousness, traveling to the place where once obtained, no traveler returns. The place of raw consciousness which awaits us when we have passed beyond the veil.
Right, we are back speaking with Matt Simon about the mysteries of the universe, about creation of the Matrix, and one simulation created after another, after another, after another. And if we don't edit it out during the replay, what you just saw, it may not be there. I don't know. I'm going to think about it after the show. So those of you tuning in live, y'all got to see the first few minutes of the Egypt documentary Resetting the Matrix that we just played. And it kind of broke down exactly what we were talking about in the previous segment, which was the multiplayer virtual reality world. Matt had mentioned World of Warcraft, and when he did, I thought, you know what, this is a good time energetically to play that first part and kind of help people better understand with visuals. Visuals help so much better. But it's been a film that has been a little difficult to put together, just because there's so much to tell. And you know what?
I'm the right way.
The reason
too.
I'm hesitating here is I actually have another clip here from another part of it, and I'm kind of tempted to play it, but no, I'm going to save it. It's really sweet. It's about the twin flame union and everything like that, and all of that. I don't even know how much of it is finished as far as the second part goes. Let me see. What do we have here? This is, it's 4 minutes. No, I don't want to play it because then it's gonna be all out of order. Because there's a part that goes in between this, and yeah, I always get really excited about the work that we do here, ladies and gentlemen, and so I'm like, hey, I want to show it up before it's ready to be released. I do that with my music.
Trait.
I do that with everything.
It's an Aries trait.
Yeah. So
you want to barrel on ahead.
Yeah, I do. I wish I could just focus and just make things appear out of my mind like that, and just poof. All right, done. Project is done. Moving on to the next one. But I guess it's going to take a little time and practice in
help
order
you.
to be able to manifest that.
I'll help you too.
You know, I think about this when I'm at the gym. I'm like, I'm divine. I'm divine. This is just an illusion. And I'm able to disconnect my body and disconnect from my body. You know, like I get on that assault bike, 15 minutes now. I could barely do 30 seconds a couple of weeks ago. 15 minutes just with the thought, I'm divine. This is just a computer simulation. But even at that 15-minute mark, my body's going, okay, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And, you know, I can pull. Here's it's like a roller coaster, right? So you I'm just using this as an example, but you do something taxing like that, and you start to move more towards the body, and you're like, okay, enough is enough, and enough is enough, and then you remember, hey, I'm divine, and you pull yourself out, and then the body kind of renews itself, and then I keep going, and then I teeter back. Maybe it's like a pendulum. You know, the pendulum swings towards the divinity, and then it swings back towards the body computer, and then I remember again, and it swings back, and I'm able to keep this up for 15 minutes. But it's a progression like that. But I'll be like 10 minutes into it, and then remember, okay, I'm divine. I only have a third of it left. I'm already 2/3 of the way through. And then it's like the second fire or the second wind or something like that. But I think the goal here is to try to maintain that divinity. Like I call it raw consciousness. You know, we can reach into our raw consciousness temporarily and pull stuff out. But the goal now, I mean, first of all, the goal was to recognize it. And I think a lot of people are still at that point to where they're recognizing it. But the next level is to try to hold on to it and try to maintain it. And the reason I like raw consciousness over Christ consciousness is because Christ consciousness, it seems like this one thing that you hit, and then you're supposed to stay there all the time, and that's that. Which it seems like a carrot dangling in front of the horse. I like raw consciousness because it's reaching down in there, grabbing it for as long as you can, but it's okay because you are expecting to let it go. It's expected for you to let it go. You can't grab it and maintain it permanently on the first time you grab it, or even the 1,000th time you grab it. But every time you grab it, you can grab it more and more and more and more and more. And that, in my opinion, is how the consciousness evolves. It's not a gate that you pass through, then boom, you're there. It's a place that you're constantly trying to get to more and more and more. As I said in a live stream on Facebook, you know, the workout thing that I'm doing is so synchronistic with the consciousness expansion. I don't know if you saw that live stream I did earlier, Cherie, but I was telling people, I did a live stream about magic mushrooms being legalized in Denver.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, and I was telling people, you know, the downside of this is one crazy person is going to take it and then jump off a bridge like they did in Amsterdam.
Right, do something
So you have to
stupid.
start small. You have to start small. And I remembered being in the trainer's office just a little while ago, like I was in the principal's office, and she's like, I'm very disappointed in you. You need to start small. You know, why are you lifting so much weight? You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to burn
Exactly.
yourself out, etc. And then people listen to Beyond the Veil, and they're like, hey, I want to have these deep ayahuasca experiences too. But it's like, well, hold on. We've been doing this for 10 years, so you have to like progressively get to that point. Same with grabbing the raw consciousness. You can progress to that point and just hold on to it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and you get stronger every time you tap into it. But it's the same with the weight training. You know, you start with a little bit of weight and then move yourself up. I started with 30 seconds on the assault bike, and then I actually jumped pretty hardcore though. I went from 30 seconds to 15 minutes like overnight.
That's a
That
huge
was
jump.
pulling into the raw consciousness and the divinity. And the thing is, like, I talk a lot of shit, right? I talk a lot of shit about being divine. I even told the trainer this. I'm like, look, she's like, why are you going so hard? It's like, because I talk a lot of shit
You
about being
talk a
divine.
big game.
Yeah, and if my actions don't back that up, then everything that I'm talking just seems like it's bullshit. So I have to prove it with my actions. I mean, even like there's nobody there watching me, but I have to prove it. And it's not prove it to anybody. It's prove it to myself. It's prove it to myself. Like, I am divine. I can do this. Okay. I can lift this here, or I can go 15 minutes on the assault bike. And that's what she doesn't understand. She's like, start small. But I'm like, it's already in me.
Yeah,
But
you
I do
can't-
understand
you
the
can't do
body
anything
has
small.
to catch up. So back to the raw consciousness. You grab it once. It's okay. You let go of it. You grab it again. You grab it again. You grab it again. And the more you grab it, the more you can more and more
Yep.
and more.
Pass to and refuse the as surely they will command and then open by these words of power the barriers. Open, I command, by the secrets of secrets. So that means the place that you went is a place that is well known among Thoth. He also ventured there. And that's why I told you it has basically a space in between for a reason. It's not the 13th, it's the 12 and the 1 according to what he said. That is something totally separated
The
from
12,
the first 12.
12 plus 1. That's what he's, yeah.
Yeah.
He said 12 plus 1. Hold on, where's the freaking screen? There it is. 12 plus 1. He didn't say 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that means a lot because all his words are wisely written for a particular reason to bring a certain meaning and understanding. So this is something that I haven't really meditated on or went into the realm to find out more about as yet. But I would love to know, why is the first 12 linked together and why there is a separate 1 and not after the 1 there's 3, 4, 5, 6 or going all the way up again. It's just 1. Why is that so?
You know, in my opinion, Matt, it's the level that we accessed within the pyramid. It's a backdoor area or a backroom area. It's not a place of existence. It's like an administrative kind of panel that exists outside of the octaves of dimension. Outside, it's not necessarily the 13th. I just called it the 13th just because it was outside of the 12th. It was 12 plus 1. But I think 12 plus 1 would have been a better way to describe it. And I would have described it like that had I been aware of the tablets of Thoth at least that particular section at the time. But I just instinctively just 13.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've always thought, too, that we kind of skip. We go from like 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, the 13th, again, one of the in-between spaces. I mean, I wonder if the 4th is an in-between space, too. But maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, from what I think is that particular dimension, which is the 13th, as you said, it's something outside of the first 12. The first 12 is within the matrix, bound by the rules of the matrix, bound by every single thing that control the construct, whether you want to call it code, whether you want to call it energy, it's still the same thing. It come like you look at me and you call me Matt, or you call me Simon, I'm still the same person. It doesn't matter. So what we are talking about here is the first 12 are linked, and then you entered into the 13th, which you call the 13th. Now, before you did this, no one had fully understand what you did. You made a massive breakthrough throughout the entire ayahuasca community, because in terms of not so much a community, but people who does work with the plant. Because where you went, everyone read the script and it made no sense to them until you actually went there and see this place for your own self. Now it's up to the listeners. Yeah, it's very big. It's a lot bigger than you even think.
I didn't expect that. I mean, now that you say it, I can see that. I did not expect that, though. I mean, at least from the mainstream psychedelic community, it seems like we've been blackballed. We used to have all the psychedelic researchers on and all of this, and now they won't write us back at all since we got back from Egypt.
Yeah, they won't.
It's like we're pariahs now for some strange reason.
I was just about to use that word, but because you have half of my brain, Chris. Yep, we share a brain, so he came up with the word first. Yeah. Pariahs.
Yeah. So what you did, you created a ripple effect, and what I'm going to say here may come out kind of bad to some people, but if you have a problem with Chris revealing that, which he didn't need it to, he could have kept it to himself. If you have a problem and you're not seeking the energy, seeking to go deep and pull and see if this is true or not, then you have a lot of work to do. As much as you claim that you are so experienced and you went through so much, you have a lot of work to do because you still have a main blockage in you. You should immediately be able to pick up whether someone is BSing or not.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but when you start to figure out who your ancient soul, like who you are on an ancient soul level, I knew who Chris was before he realized who he was, and I couldn't just tell him
Well, you did.
I did.
And I was like, oh, you're
and
crazy.
he thought I was crazy and stupid, and that I was just tripping really hard because we were drinking ayahuasca at the time, and I didn't bring it up again.
Well, let me switch the topic here for a second. Can you tell us, Matt, what are your thoughts on Anubis?
Anubis. I never really went into Anubis that in much depth, but Anubis, as far as I knew about Anubis, supposed to be there in the one who actually oversees the realm of the underworld, the realm of death, the one who actually is there and is the master with the key to actually go through and out. Because I did a little review on Osiris, and Osiris when he was a youth and the story with the king and so on, and he showed his father how to go into the underworld through the book of Thoth. Again, he stole one of the books that was giving you the direct instruction how to meditate, how to leave your body, where to go, what to say, and how to enter in there. And Anubis were the one who were taking them through and showed them all the different aspects, all the different parts, showed them the cycle of reincarnation, the ones who never get to come back, the ones who actually got to come back, and all these different things. So Anubis plays a big role, and I don't see any negative energy with him. That's just his role.
I agree with you.
Same here.
Yeah.
I never saw him. Even the Egyptians never saw him as a negative or malevolent entity at all.
No, he was a guardian.
He was the guardian,
He guarded
especially
the
of the
souls
dead. Yeah.
And took them across to make sure that he guaranteed them safe passage to the weighing of the hearts.
And he's who
he took them to Thoth.
Yeah, and even the people in European cultures, they had the boatmen. Whenever you would die, the ferryman would take you across the river, to the place of judgment. But to get across that river, you would have to have a way to pay them, and so that's why they would put the coins over the eyes, because you would have to pay the ferryman, and the ferryman was actually Anubis, and the Egyptians recognized this as well, and so they would do offerings specifically for Anubis. Like, okay, well, here's your payment for escorting the dead to the Hall of Judgment, where they would, where the heart weighing ceremony would be. And the heart weighing ceremony, it was Thoth on one side and Anubis on the other. It would be Anubis at the back and Thoth at the front, in front of him.
And then Ammit.
And Ammit would be behind Thoth, looking on and licking her lips.
And and waiting for Thoth to write down, all right, heart doesn't weigh, so she can eat it.
Yep.
Ammit's a little alligator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, about that, you said little. Now, in Osiris' story, he said it was the biggest, most undescribable creature that thing was. It was not anything known. It wasn't even a crocodile. It was a crocodile mixed with a lion, mixed with a dragon, mixed with some sort of 10,000 unknown creatures large as the entire earth itself.
Oh,
and
really?
swallowing souls. That's how we
Oh,
describe
yeah,
it.
it was. Look at the picture of Ammit.
I'm trying to pull it up right now.
No, it looks like a lion, a hippopotamus, and a crocodile all in one.
Yeah, it's a mishmash.
I always thought it was just a crocodile. Oh, that's
Here it is, right here.
interesting.
I'm gonna put it up on the screen. Hold on, one second.
Now,
Here you go.
I'm not sure if any one of the listeners has any insight on this to go through like ancient meanings of each one of those animals and get the reason why this particular creature appearance is of pieces of these different animals and so on. If it have a representation, some meaning of a characteristic or anything in depth about it.
I haven't really paid too much attention. I'm looking at the picture here, and I memed it, actually. It says, when people follow your post but never like or comment. You see Ammit, it's just the eye. The way that Ammit's looking, you can see.
Yeah.
It's like,
So,
But the only thing with the picture, he's small. But in when Osiris described it, it was like very large.
huge.
Like nothing, not small at all.
Yeah.
it says in Wikipedia that Ammit was also sometimes said to stand by a lake of fire. Interesting.
Well, in Revelation, don't they talk about
The lake of fire.
well, not a lake of fire, but a beast that has I don't remember what animals, but it was a mishmash of animals again.
Yeah, that's true.
We gotta go back and look at that over again.
Chris, you really want to go into that book?
Let's do it. Take us away, Matt.
Oh, I don't want to, because it caused a lot of controversy and problems. But
Oh, we are
I'm
controversy and problems.
going to,
We were born in controversy and
Uh-huh.
problems, molded by it.
Uh-huh.
They didn't create controversy and problems until they were. Anyways, go ahead.
okay, so this is something I didn't discover on my own. It's from listening to Rex's show with the same guy who used to do the translation. And what he described is, he said when he was doing the translation, he and others who were also doing the translations for the book knew very well that most of the things in the Bible came from Egyptian mythology. And what they did, they looked to translate some of those things and take it and integrate it into this one book. So in other words, what we read is actually have a lot of things with the ancient things that are hidden and just reused and created to form some sort of control over the general population. It's basically to create order,
Yeah.
to get everyone in a certain program, because that book is full of programming codes.
Oh, yeah.
Programming you.
I completely
in
agree.
different
It programs the body computer. It programs the brain. I mean, I've said this before. That's why they call it the Holy Scriptures. They're scripts.
Yeah.
Scripts.
And they're supposed to program the NPCs to not kill each other, to be nice
Right,
to each
to be
other, you know,
decent
all that.
individuals.
But they have been malfunctioning.
Yeah,
and
big time.
the script has been miswritten.
Well, it's
Not
been
that.
it's been
It's been-
purposefully miswritten to include things like child sacrifice, human sacrifice, rape, slavery, those kinds of things. That's what's happened. It's just like when you have a website that's malfunctioning. It's not the website's fault that it's malfunctioning. It's the fault of the coder. It's the fault of whoever did the code for that website screwing up somewhere, and that's a bunch of bad code. And so that's why I don't see the NPCs that are malfunctioning as bad for malfunctioning. I see it as, okay, they're being affected by faulty code.
Shuri, I'm glad you brought that up. And it just reminded me, I will get to that after I have to come back to you, Chris, concerning something. This is personal. Now, this book itself, I wouldn't quite agree in terms, I would think about it even deeper than that. It was not mistranslated. As you mentioned, it was scripts. So if it was scripts, meaning it wasn't a book put together, and it was in two different languages, just a bunch of random scripts. Well, not so random. Some of them were stuck together, but it was put together over the ages as a collection of vast knowledge.
Well, that's very true. I mean, okay, so you look at the Torah, right? You look at gematria, and each letter in the Torah is assigned a numerical value, and then each word, like mother and father, I don't remember exactly, so I'm going off the top of my head here, but I think mother or father is like 2, and mother is like 42. And again, these are just arbitrary off the top of my head. And so child is 44. So you have 2 plus 42 equals 44 with the words like that. And it's all structured one on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. Why is everything all numbers? Because it's all computer code. It's all script. It's right there. I mean, this is what a lot of the Jewish rabbi have been studying, gematria. And they think that there's like a secret hidden code that God put in there. And it's like, no, that's the programming language, dude. Okay, that's programming. That's all it is. But it's right there in numerical values.
Yeah. Now, what had happened after all of these scripts are put together, when it got hijacked. Now, when the Vatican get their hands on these things, remember, we don't know exactly what was really written in those scripts, and that's because the only ones that we do know that is written is the Nagamati scripts, which is what was not taken by the Vatican, which they rule out as blasphemy and for no one to read, and it must not be made to use in any religious purposes whatsoever. So because they never got their hand on those scripts, they pushed that aside. But the ones that they got their hand on, they sit down with scholars, sorted it out, decided what they want to translate and what they would keep for control of the mass population and what they would cast aside and keep as secret, because those secrets are so much that it gives them ultimate control over everything. So this was well structured. So what we read now that is translated in English could very well vary very far away from what is exactly written in the actual scripts originally.
I agree with you.
Me
It's
too.
it's a world removed from it.
But it's
I wonder how we can find the original scripts. I don't think
it
we
was
can.
purposefully
yeah,
mistranslated.
well, I mean, okay, so they were written in Hebrew. Hebrew is based on
They were written
gematria.
well, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew.
Yeah,
it's
The New
classic.
Testament was mostly written in Koine Greek.
Well, that's
Yes,
true,
right.
but the new. I mean, really, we're talking about the Torah.
Yeah,
the
okay,
first,
so we're
what is
talking
it,
about-
5
Yeah.
books of the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot of things in there. First of all, it's gematria. Second of all, Hebrew is read from right to left. As I've
Yeah.
said before, right to left is important. When we saw the angelic writing, both of us, well, we're calling it angelic
Separate
writing for lack
times.
of a better term. It was divine writing. or
Divine
whatever.
writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Sacred
it was
writing.
sacred writing was appearing from right to left. Everything was right to left.
Not just that, Chris, but also you have to remember that the order that it is laid out in actually was put by the scholars when they were making the book itself. These scripts were never in order.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
It was never in the order that it's written in. And where they try to put a lineage starting, here's the beginning, here's the end, and all these different things. It was never in an order. It was all random scripts, some written centuries apart from one another, but kept preserved and handed down until someone else wrote another bunch of scripts. And eventually, when all of this are done at the end of the certain ages, these scholars got their hands on it after the invasion of Rome when they was doing their world conquer. They got all these scrolls. They even have some from Egypt and all these different places, and they decided they're going to translate this particular one, take knowledge from other things, put in here in the translation, and create something that it could control the mass. Now, this is a higher intelligence. Now, what is my question is, who exactly are these people? Are these people like us? Like they are conscious of the mass, they know the coding, but they choose to do that part?
I think so.
Are they
But maybe
with
not
Seth?
conscious, but I think they are more connected to the hive mind of the AI or the hive mind of the mainframe, because these archons, or, let's call them archons for lack of a better term, but they've been these, maybe 13 families. We hear about this Illuminati conspiracy, 13 families, bloodlines. They're always so concerned about keeping the bloodline as pure as possible, so on and so forth. I think at a certain level, they're the most connected to the artificial intelligence and the closest to physical manifestations of the archons. So I would venture to say that during the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, I think is what you're referring to, Matt, when they decided which books of the Bible they were going to put in, what the canon was going to be, what order they were going to be, so
Which
on and
ones
so
could
forth.
be thrown out?
Yeah, I think at a certain level, they may not have been operating consciously, but they were all operating from the being connected to the hive mind of the mainframe. They were archonic thought patterns that were implemented on top of these NPCs.
So even if they weren't thinking right off the bat that this was a blasphemous book, their programming would tell them it's a blasphemous book,
Right.
and to leave it out.
Or put them in certain orders or something like that. That they may
Right.
not have necessarily understood, but that had played a higher purpose for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Matt?
All right, so I'm seeing it from a different point of view, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it from where I'm looking at this. Supposing is the other way around. Supposing they are put in there for the purpose of working on behalf of our opposition, let's just say Seth, and these people actually knows They remember, they came back, they reincarnate every generation. They particularly pick a certain bloodline of human NPC bodies to be reincarnated in. They comes back every single generation. They put things in place to ensure that the entire construct in the matrix is working against us, the ones who is against his concept of taking dominion over all. So, in other words, they are very much conscious. They are above the entire realm of NPCs. When I say they are like us, I don't mean they are doing things of light, things of upliftment, but they are well versed with knowing all the ins and outs, tricks and trades of the matrix, the entire construct coding. Every time they reincarnate, they come back with all their memory, and they keep these things put together while we are now scrambling the pieces, scrambling the crumbs together, trying to put this thing back together. So in other words, throughout the generation, they are our direct enemy, like how they killed Joan of Arc, all these different ones. If you really trace back the lineage and really try and get, which have a lot of loopholes in history, but somehow something energetically is leading me along the path to believe that these ones are not NPCs. They are just like us in terms that they are conscious, but they are using a different path, like our set are conscious and he's going down a different path to us. What do you think about that from that point of view?
I resonate with that.
Yeah, me too.
I feel that Set at one point merged with the artificial intelligence. So I think we're talking about one and the same. Like Set wanted to rule over the Matrix and was merging with the technology that runs the Matrix or whatever. So I do definitely resonate with that. The only issue that I have with them being actual physical beings is that the coding language is so complex that you would really need computers in order to understand it. I mean, we're just developing computers now, and we're still piecing together gematria. Like, the Jews have been studying this for centuries and centuries, trying to figure out this code. So for them to have such a full understanding of the code, to be able to piece it together in a particular way that is from the conscious human brain, like them actually in human form, it just seems to me like too much of a stretch. But I mean, who knows? I don't know. Maybe there are some beings here that are just way more hyper intelligent than we perceive them to be, just because they're in human bodies. But I don't know. What do you think, Matt? Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. I understand where you're going with that. You're saying it's not certain, and I'm just throwing this out because it's another way to look at things. Because we are now gathering things together, and we gathering all this information, we going in the realm, we gathering information, what we see physically around us, all these different things, and we have to now put all these together and then ask ourselves within our own self, who actually knows the truth, but we can't remember most of these things.
Okay, so I'm starting to piece some of this together now that you're talking. So what I'm thinking now is, again, just kind of trying to look at all possibilities here. Perhaps the vessels that were actually in the Council of Nicaea were hijacked at one point by the consciousness who was the Set's army.
Correct.
Brought down into human form, possessed, hijacked, and maybe they did consciously, for that period of time of possession, have knowledge to be able to put everything together.
Correct.
So
now
okay.
you understand.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm starting to wrap my head around it. Yeah.
So what do you think from that point of view? To me, it's more resonating in terms of pulling things together to understand that organized, structured, well, neatly knitted, put together way how they constructed everything, that the day that we live in this timeline, that everything is so well fixed and put together, where the whole world, even though whether they want to believe it or not, are influenced in some way coming from that particular group.
Yeah, I think so. The question is, where does this army reside? Does this army reside within this physical space? Does it reside outside of the physical space? Do they have the ability to jump into NPC bodies? And so they can be in multiple NPCs Like first they can be in that one over there, then they can be in that one over there, then can be that one over there, all in a short period of time? Are they, as the Christians will refer to as demons that possess one vessel after another after another? And if so, how can we as organic consciousness utilize the same type of technology so we can have the same type of edge?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a question that I don't have an answer to. How can we do that? But we will eventually find out, because again, nothing is new here. We've been here so long now that nothing is new. It's just all about remembering.
It is about remembering, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can't help but think of a story that Christopher Everard used to say on the show about Aleister Crowley. Now, I don't know how much validity this has, but supposedly Aleister Crowley was able to unlock a certain type of magic to where he can take over an NPC's body. And the story is that he was walking with somebody else, a high official from England or something like that, and he was doing a demonstration of this. And he took control of an NPC's body, and he knelt down on one leg and put his hands up like this. And that NPC did the exact same thing as he was doing it. Like he was controlling him like a puppet. Is that an organic consciousness technology, or is that an Archon technology, or is it both? Is it a cheat code in the Matrix? I don't know, but it's an interesting story nonetheless. But yeah, I can tell you this though. I have been able to influence NPCs in the past, and I still do. But I don't do it by taking control of their consciousness. I do it by projecting an energy to them, an energy of, you want to help me. You want, it's like a feeling, it's like a desire to want to help my energy. So remember we were at Best Buy? And I was like, I want this graphics card for half the price, and I don't know how I'm going to get it. And I'm looking on my phone, and I couldn't find anything.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the guy, like, I'm waving my hand, and she's like, why are you waving your hand? I'm like, just leave me alone. And I'm waving my hand as I'm talking to this guy. The guy picks up his phone, and he spends like 25 minutes looking for the best price on the internet for me. And then he finally finds it, and he's like, oh, okay, here you go. And it's about half the price. It was what I wanted to pay for it. And the guy, like, he's a Best Buy employee. He's not supposed to do this. But I just projected the energy of, you want to help me, you want to help me, you want to help me. Same, remember when my cell phone broke? And I went into the cell phone place, and the guy had a pentagram tattoo.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, okay, he's one of ours. So that's cool. He's kind of esoteric. So I was projecting the energy. Hey, dude, you just want to help me. You want to help me. The guy replaced my battery. He replaced the back of the case. He replaced everything for free.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, you rock. And I tipped him personally, but he did it for free. Just because I projected that energy. Now, I didn't take control of the body, though. That's the difference. I think maybe that's the benevolent, malevolent, because you can't force something against its will. But you can suggest a will to somebody, and if your intentions are right, then that suggestiveness and that desire to help for the greater good, of things.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. Now, what I believe is happening here is that we have been done dirty, really, really dirty, in terms of we've been undermined as conscious beings. And we really, really need to drop the BS and really take this seriously. Because if this is so, from the way how I'm seeing this, from this point of view, if that is really so, then we're in a much worse situation than we actually thought, because that means nothing happened randomly. This is construct as a prison to enslave us here by design and construct, specially built to enslave us here. And not just that, the system itself just got a virus and it's just going haywire and trapping every single conscious being that comes here, but this is designed to trap us particularly.
Yes.
We are sorted out and we are trapped within this.
I think we're systematically targeted. Let me get to that here in just a moment. I want to say thank you to Sandpaper. He donated way earlier in the broadcast, and he said, I can never give much, but I love supporting you guys and all the knowledge that you bring to the world. And that was so freaking awesome, Sandpaper. it's just awesome. So thank you. And he's donated many times before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was really cool. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Back to what you were saying, Simon, about oh my God, it just slipped my mind. Can you remind me, Sheree?
It slipped my mind too because I was trying to find in the chat room where he donated, so I could say thank you.
there was a point that I was getting to here. Trapping us. Okay, you were talking about trapping us in particular. We are subjected to all kinds of testing. I don't know if you were, Matt, as a child, but a lot of us that we talk to, we find that we have been taken into rooms, done psychological
when we're
testing.
really young.
You know, they have these nationwide tests that they do, the TOS test and the ACT tests, and you know all of this, and they're all data mining for a particular type of consciousness, looking for a consciousness. And then we talked about Pine Gap, Pine something in Australia. It's a facility in Australia. It starts with Pine. May not be Pine Gap, but it's a facility reputed to have a technology that can trace your soul resonance from one incarnation to another. And so almost they know how to track us from one existence to another. And some people have pointed out on the broadcast, and they said, well, maybe, you know, the mind wipe isn't necessarily malevolent in the sense that it wipes us completely, but it also erases or covers up, because it's an overlay. It never erases the information. It just overlays the information, but overlays the information so they can't find us when we get in. And then as we start to unlock, obviously they know who we are, but hopefully as we have become in this incarnation, we have become more aware of our consciousness than their technology is capable of handling. And so that's why we're able to navigate in and out of these different states and outside of their traps and all of this, because we have unlocked and expand our consciousness that quickly. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
It has a possibility. Now, as you spoke that, I'm actually considering it from that point of view. It's not something that I knew before, I must admit, but thinking of it, it is actually resonating. And it's quite surprising because most of the things we speak are actually linking. Not so surprising in the terms of, surprising is just the wrong word I use. I should more say encouraging to me, because we are linked more than what I thought we are linked. I'm really starting to recognize it now. Some of these things you speak are so in line to where I'm seeing from. Now, I just would like to address something that you were thinking of that you were doing. You spoke about it when you came out from the small break. You were mentioning about your exercise. And you're saying you're going all out, and you're saying, "Hey, I'm much better than an NPC. I'm a conscious being, and this everything here is fake." But I'm just here to remind you that yes, above is below, but below you have to take examples because technology is sort of catching up to what we are in currently. So now we can grab an example. Patches is what the trainer is trying to tell you about, Chris. Apply patches. Don't apply a major software change, because what happens, remember, the system, which is your body, is programmed a certain way. And if you try to make such a drastic change so hardcore, it will go into auto repair mode to try and get itself the way it was before. So what you do, you send soft patches in.
Well, first you have to get Eye of Life. That will repair. Then you get the patches. But go ahead.
Yeah. So once you apply these over time, you'll see a massive change to the actual construct of the system. So I'm just saying it in a technological way. I'm taking something physical and saying it in a technological way, because this is just the same way how the system operates to us. When we make an off move that our NPC body weren't supposed to make, what happens is the persons in our immediate environment who are NPCs, every single thing that the system could possibly use are now taken and put against us to push us back into the path that we were going in before. If we make such a drastic move at any given moment. So sometimes we have to really consider and make things run a little smoother by going a little softer into the way how we go into certain things. Just like the way you say how you dealt with your mom. If you just go all right and just say, whatever, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm not like you all, and so on, it'll make things very hard. Same thing with Shuri.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn now, hey, it's not just to make a big drastic movement, a big drastic change, because the system around you will try to fix you, because at the end of the day, we are going against our programming of our MPC body. So if you're going against it, like any good software that was built or programmed, it will try to fix that issue.
That's a
So
good
this
point.
is like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
trying to push you back into the place that the coding was set for you to walk along. So you have to make the changes very subtle and wise.
No, that is very true. In previous broadcasts, I have talked about going a little bit too hard in my journey. And the first thing was about a week ago with the knee pain. And the knee pain, I was deadlifting and deadlifted too much. And I took a triple dose of ILI for 2 days in a row. And then I was back in the gym a couple days later.
Yep.
And just a couple days ago, something happened to my calf, and my calf blew up like a freaking bubble. Poof. More triple dose of iLife, and it resolved that. So just for people that are wondering, it's our 99% pure CBD oil, and you can get that at ialife.com, ayalife.com. Not only does it rebalance your body, not only does it rebalance the matrix in and of itself. No, it doesn't really do that. It only rebalances you. But
I
by
think
you
it
rebalancing
can-
yourself, it rebalances the matrix too.
That's what I was about
Yes,
to say.
yes.
It rebalances your own personal
Yes.
version of the Matrix.
But it also, and most importantly, funds BTV.
Aw.
It's not most importantly.
That's
no.
not most importantly.
I'm just having fun with the plug this time around. But you know what I mean. So Matt, you're absolutely right though, and I'm taking
Yeah,
that.
so-
I am taking that warning. I don't want to hurt myself to the point to where I can't. The fire goes out, and that's what everybody's concerned about. My trainer and
No.
Cherie and everybody's concerned that I'm just going to go so hard that I can't go anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's in me. I mean, I already am what I'm shooting to be. I just have to go through the motions to get there.
Yeah. Someone said in the chat that you're doing the Alex Jones.
They're taking the IL life.
Uh-huh.
They have people gobbling it up in triple and quadruple doses, ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-huh.
No.
People are writing in saying that they're sleeping from Parkinson's, that they're no longer taking NSAIDs.
Uh-huh. They're no longer killing their kidneys.
No, it's
I advise guys though to really get the ILife. It's almost like a cheat code.
Mhm.
it is
It really
yeah.
helps a lot.
Yeah.
It's like literally he got this knowledge from the REM, he got the recipe, and he came back and made this. This is like a literal cheat code. It defiles what other medicines and medications and so on does to you, and really, really, it's a really good product.
New discovery about CBD. It eliminates one of the proteins associated with Alzheimer's.
Oh,
Interesting. That was just posted in the chat by CJ.
Yeah, I'm
earlier,
looking at
so-
it right now.
Yeah, there is something to it. I don't want to make it a CBD show. We've already done one of those with Kev Baker.
Yeah.
But it's worked so well for everybody that
Mhm.
I have to consciously tell myself, okay, you have to mention IL Life on every show. And sometimes I don't. And Cherie's like, oh, we didn't mention IL Life. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's because that's not what it's about.
Right.
But it's helped so many people that, yeah, it's worth mentioning. So,
Yeah.
take us away, Simon, please. Matt. I keep calling you Simon. I don't know why. Matt Simon.
Because his last name is
Yeah.
Simon.
Sure, there's a question in the chat for you. Do you accept PayPal in the order?
I'm going to answer that in the chat.
Oh.
We're not supposed
Yeah.
to.
We're not supposed to,
But
Yeah.
if you email us, we can set up something special for you. I'm dropping an email there, orders@illife.com. And strictly for BTV listeners, we will work out something special for you guys and gals. But you have to keep it a secret, though. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Okay, so
All right, go ahead, Matt.
yeah, so basically what I'm seeing around us is something that we need to come together and focus on now again, I'm going back onto these two topics. Now I'm going to go all the way back to the mother of all. And I'm just going to just get some notes here. I have some notes on this. And we're going to come all the way back to where it links somewhere into Thoth, what Thoth was explaining about certain things. Now, where's my notes? Okay, so
The notes on Thoth.
right. So here is where it had the creation of Christ. Please, anyone in the chat who is a Christian, take no offense in this. So Christ being made by the Father and the Mother Spirit, and it was requested to give to the fellow worker, which is in mind, and he consented gladly. And when the invisible spirit had consent, the mind came forth, and it attained Christ, glorifying him and Barbelo, which is the mother. So what is stated here is that Christ was created by those two beings, who was basically the first two to create everything, because out of the Father, which was way before, according to Christ, and it's Christ who had written this, but this is not part of what we call the construct Bible now. This is just a part of one of the scripts that was not found by the Vatican and was translated. So basically, what Christ was saying unto John is that he came from the thought of the both beings and created as the mind. And all of this came into being in silence, meaning there were no movement, no song, nothing whatsoever. It was all about thought. These beings are infinite. These are the ones that created from nothing, because he also mentioned in the beginning there was only the all. There was no light, there was no darkness, there was nothingness. And out of the still waters, there became movement. And then there became light out of darkness. Now, this is kind of hard for me to grasp, because what it basically is saying is out of darkness came light, coming out from the darkness. So darkness was there first. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the darkness is evil. Evil is different based on from what I understood. But it came out of darkness. So it have here, and the mind wanted to perform a deed through the word of the invisible spirit, and his will became a deed, and it appeared with the mind, which is Christ, and the light glorified it, which was the Father. And the word followed the will. For because of the word, Christ is the divine autogenes created everything, meaning that he's within everything also, because he's the mind of every single living cell, every single thing.
Well, let me jump in for a minute, because you said the word followed the will, and I mean that's really we can look at our own consciousness when it comes to that. We think it first, and then we speak it, and that's how we manifest reality. First we think, then we speak. So the word follows the will. The will is first, and then the word comes after that. As above, so below.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it follows on, say, and the eternal life, his will, Christ's will, his will, the eternal life, and the mind, and the foreknowledge attended and glorified the invisible spirit and Barbelo. For whose sake they had come into being. In other words, they came forth. So this understanding that we had, that was only one, and the spirit that created everything was the all, based on the text, but Christ, what was recorded by John, which was told by Christ, every single thing excepting Barbelo, which we hardly hear anything about anywhere in any community, had created every other single thing within the universe, including other beings. She created a son. She and the Great Spirit herself created Christ, give him the spirit of the mind. in every single thing. And this being is the being that you more or less, when you feel like you're going out into the realm, some people say they take DMT and they feel motherly love and spirit. I don't believe this is what's the name again, Chris? Sophia. I believe this is Barbelo spirit you're feeling, because we have her spark. It covered where Sophia came in also, but that was to replace Barbelo's son when he was going crazy and just doing crazy things, when he had the confrontation with the story where it go to get down into Adam, when Adam was wiser than he and his angels and his demons that created the body construct. Now, from my perspective, I honestly don't believe all of this actually happened within this matrix that we are in right now. But this matrix that we are in right now is a copying some of the things that had happened before we came into this matrix, because again, it comes back again, as above, so below. So it copied what actually happened outside of what we are in. But it's not the same.
I think
it's a replica.
Yeah, I think that's true, because as I've said before, the best way to make a simulation is to base it off real things and, pull information out of the consciousness of the players, which is why we find this repetition of events or repetition of cities. Remember that city, that little town in West Washington, Sherry, that looked exactly like that little town in West Texas, like exact copies. And then we went to Oregon. I don't remember what town we were in as we were driving through Oregon, and I was like, oh, I know. There's a Starbucks around the corner from here. There's a McDonald's down the street from here. And sure enough, I mean, it was all just lined up just the way that I knew it was, even though I'd never been there before. But it would make sense that they would copy from the real world, from real. The only question I have is what do our real bodies look like, Matt, in your opinion? I've had the visions of the different beings, which are like myself, a cobra-headed kind of being. Others are the cat beings and the bird beings and so on and so forth. Big difference between the blue avians that Corey Good talks about, though. Big difference. But I've seen these different things in the Aya realm. But I wonder, is that base reality, or does it even go deeper than that? I mean, did we just wake up in another simulation? So what do you think?
All right. So what I think is what we are all around us. Because from what I'm seeing in the realms is that the cats, the dogs, the horses, the snakes, the lions, the grasshoppers, every single animal that we see in this environment actually resembles the bodies that we have out there, including the human body. There are also beings that resemble the human body. Not quite the same, but resemble. So basically, we have signs. Every single thing that is within this matrix somehow take a replica design of what was outside and place in the matrix that we are in. So it's all around us. The thing is, we never seem to pick up on it. The very cat that you have, there are beings with cats that looks like that. But again, that's just the body outside of the matrix. That's still not us, because we are divine light.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's take another break. And the only reason I'm doing this is because it's so freaking hot in the studio. It
is really, really getting warm.
Luckily, though, our new landlord is freaking awesome. He had the AC guy out here today, and he's talking about installing a central AC in here, which is very unique for Spokane.
Yes.
And so I told him, I said, it's just way too hot in the studio. And he's like, oh, okay, well, let's see what we can do about that. And he had the AC guy over like 2 days later. This guy
he's amazing.
He is
I
amazing.
love this man.
Yeah, he's awesome. So
Fellow traveler, the cries of the mystery speak again. Bidding organic consciousness a welcome to the House of Light. The great institution of materialism has failed. The false civilization built by man has turned, like a monster destroying its creator. Science battles itself impotently against the barriers of the unknown. Only your consciousness knows the true path. You, the illuminated, can carry the understanding upwards towards the light. Only your consciousness can teach the children of men. to live well, to die well, and in perfect measure. Be born again, through the knowledge of virtue, compassion, love, and true understanding, as you are sublimely raised, beyond the veil.
All right. Final segment with Matt Simon. Unless Matt has a lot to go into. I know he sends us a ton of notes. I want to make Matt a regular guest, though, because this guy is like totally tapped in beyond the veil, for sure. What do you think, Mrs. Gio?
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is one of the best interviews, like the deepest and best interviews that we've done in a very, very long time.
Yes.
So
yeah, and this is my favorite thing to do. You know, instead of having these guests that write books and do all this stuff, and you know they're trying to sell a book and blah 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 blah. I like talking to our people. That's the heart and the soul of Beyond the Veil. That is the raw consciousness of Beyond the Veil. When 3 or more are gathered in the name of Beyond the Veil, there we are in its presence. Matt, what have we not touched upon that you'd like to get into?
Okay, so I found my notes with the before Atlantis exists. So I'm going to go straight into that, Chris. All right, so far in the past before Atlantis exists, men were there who dwell into darkness, using dark magic, calling up the beings from the great deep below us. Fourth came into the cycle, formless were they, in another vibration, existing unseen by the children of earth men. Only through blood could they have formed being, only through man could they live in this world. Now, as we know, man is NPC. That's the body. And this said far in the past, before Atlantis exists. Now, from what we already established, Atlantis is the game starter point where you enter from when it now all begin. So this means that this had happened before the game entered, and these beings somehow entered into the game and take over the bodies of NPCs.
Can you expand on that?
Okay, so what I believe had happened, the things that we call possession, that people call possession, and demons and so on, according to Thoth, from what I'm getting from here, is because he said far before Atlantis even exists, they had men who used to do dark magic. Now, as we all establish, in the world outside of the matrix, there is beings that of good and there is beings of chaos. So instead of saying evil, I would say order and chaos.
The Brotherhood of Darkness.
Correct.
Yeah.
The Brotherhood of Darkness.
You know what's
Some
funny?
of
You
those
know what's funny,
beings-
Matt? I don't mean to jump in, but we were looking at Scientology because I was like, I want to see what Scientology believes. You know, I was just curiosity, nothing to talk about on the show or anything like that. But at the base level of it, they believe that there was a being, I don't remember what his name was, but he took a bunch of the souls from the universe or the galaxy. Xenu,
Evil Lord Xenu.
Evil Lord Xenu. He took all the souls from the galaxy that were like evil souls and dumped them on Earth. And when they were dumped on Earth, they were looking for particular bodies, and they inhabited the hominoids that were living on Earth. And they've been these spirits that have been inhabiting these bodies. It's eerily similar to what Thoth is talking about. And I was like, this is actually kind of crazy here. I mean, the similarities. I mean, I guess if you're going to come up with some bullshit like Scientology, you've got to base it on some kind of truth. You've got to base it on some kind of esoteric knowledge, so it resonates on a certain level.
Yeah.
See, that's what all these different religions and practices and things like that. That's what they do. They find something that resonates. They hit you with that, and then bring in all the deception along with that. So you are drawn to the resonance, and you're not aware of the deception that they're pushing on you, which is why I'm like, don't follow anybody. Just go within and get the information from yourself.
It's
Look
a
in your
human,
heart where the wisdom is bound.
Right. It's a human flaw to whenever you know that something is right, then the left brain turns off, and then the right brain just kind of takes over from there, because you're lulled into a sense of false security by knowing that part of it is true. So the brain just kind of goes to sleep and says, okay, well, open up to everything.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt, I just wanted to throw that in.
Great. So continuing, it said, in the ages past, they were conquered by masters, driven below to the place where hence they came. But some were who remain hidden in spaces and planes, unknown to man. Now the masters, I believe, is us, the conscious being within the man's body. And they are unknown to man, but they're not unknown to us, because we can pick them up based on frequency. They are direct opposite to us. Live there in Atlantis as shadows, but at times they appear among men. When the blood was offered, for they came forth, they dwell among men. Not among the masters, but among men. In the form of man, move they among us, but only to sight where they are as men. Serpent-headed when they glamour, and was lifted, and appeared to men as men among men. Now, I'm just going to skip a little bit and get to the part here. But know ye, the masters were mighty in magic, able to lift the veil from the face of the serpent, able to send him back to his place. Came they to man and taught him the secrets, the word that only the man can pronounce. Swift, then they lifted the veil from the serpent and cast him forth from the place among men. Now, from what I got from that is this dark energy, which is total opposition unto us, came into the matrix, take over bodies like us, NPC bodies like we did when we came into Atlanta, and they were our direct opposition at that time. Now, based on what he's saying here, there are still some who was not cast out and still among us, who is also working in direct opposition to us in here. Now, that would explain why within the matrix you get some unquestionable things that is not too relatable to really deal with. It's like almost like these things are sentient. Could you remember the experience I had when this being of pure darkness, like a dark void, came to me through a portal and looked me in the face, and I came out of my body and I looked the being directly in its face, and we were face to face to each other, and I could have actually feel the essence of dark void and darkness right in front of my face. And I look into the being and I say, "Who are you?" And the being was just looking at me, and the rest of the body just kind of faded into black smoke. And it was in my face, and I had no fear whatsoever. I was about to grab its face and literally say, "You have no authority to stand before me." And it immediately didn't feel fear neither. It wasn't fearful of me. I wasn't fearful of it. And it just subtract the portal opened, and it went through and it went back out. And I never had encountered that being again.
Interesting. You know, I've always said that these beings, even pure darkness, they have to succumb to our commands or our powers, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. You know, they're lower than us. You know, people are always fearing lower dimensional beings like demons. Oh, they're lower dimensional. Oh, fear the demons. It's like, well, they're lower than you. Why are you afraid of them?
They have to take orders from you, not
take
the
them
other
and
way
put them
around.
back in their where they're supposed to go. They're supposed to go back to their dimension. Go send them back to their dimension. They're like bad kids. Say nope. No, don't do that.
Just to put a thought in that, this is not a game. It's not something not to take seriously. You can't just do these things just so. I keep on stressing that You have to know who you really are. You have to put work within yourself in discovering the real you
Mm-hmm.
and pull from that essence. That's the only way you can eliminate fear.
Right.
Once fear kicks in, that's your weakness. And your weakness, that's poison you from inside out. So you can't bluff fear. These beings will feel it and pull it from out from you. And that's it. You lose. So a lot of people are afraid. Oh my God, I'm afraid of evil entities or spirits or demons. And it's like, get hold of yourself. You should show pity unto those things. Those things are way lower than you. You shouldn't hate them because you can't hate something. In other words, you can't envy something lower than you.
Well, truly, the truth of the matter is, even if you think that you should be afraid of them, but you're all proud of yourself that you don't fear them, even that alone is not, it's not really realizing or recognizing your own personal power, because in that case you're thinking to yourself, oh, they're higher than me, but I'm not afraid of them, when the opposite is true. Even the Gnostic texts from Nag Hammadi say, you know, you are not lower than the angels, you are higher than the angels. That's why they're so jealous of you. That is why
Correct.
they're afraid of you.
That's correct, Sherry. And
Mm-hmm.
again, whereas you mentioned that, you remember, as you said in the Nagamati, you remember how that went down because the angels were jealous of Adam because he was
Mm-hmm.
higher than they were. He was even higher than his own creator who created who commanded the body, and the
Right.
spark was pulled from his creator, which we all know that name by now. It's so familiar among us, and they were jealous of him because he was far beyond what they were. They were created from something faulty. Our spark came from the direct light. So what happens to us? We are as powerful as we make ourselves. And this isn't literal. You have to put aside the ego. You have to put aside the BS. You can't bluff yourself into this. You have to understand your power. The more you remember is the more power given unto you from inside. With that consciousness, you can simply decide how much you want to use in what situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, there will be fights where you will meet where being actually at the appointed time seemingly is more powerful than you because he hasn't unlocked enough of yourself to realize that my power even go way beyond that. But that is growing up stage. But when you reach full stage and realize who you really are, you know, okay, right now I'm talking to Chris and Shuri. I will lower myself and be a nice little human being. When
Mm-hmm.
I'm dealing with those beings, I know I will take off the mask of the body, drop the ego, and show them what pure.
In the most profound way that I've ever heard it said. He said, if you do not make yourself equal to God, then you cannot apprehend God. For like is known by like. Leap clear of all that is corporeal, and make yourself grow into a like expanse with that greatness which is beyond all measure. Rise above all time and become eternal. Then you will apprehend God. Think that for you nothing is impossible. Deem that you too are immortal, and that you are able to grasp all things in your thought, to know every craft and science. Find your home in the haunts of every living creature. Make yourself higher than all heights and lower than all depths. Bring together in yourself all opposites of quality, heat and cold, dryness and fluidity. Think that you are everywhere at once, on land, at sea, in heaven. Think that you are not yet begotten, that you are in the womb, that you are young, that you are old, that you have died, that you are in the world beyond the grave. Grasp in your thought all of this at once, all times and places, all substances and qualities and magnitudes together. Then you can apprehend God. But if you shut up your soul and your body and abase yourself and say, I know nothing, I can do nothing, I am afraid of earth and sea, I cannot mount to heaven, I know not what I was nor what I shall be, then what have you to do with God? I love that because it basically says you are the Godhead. You are Godhood. You just don't realize it. And the fact that you don't realize it means that all these other beings regardless of how tiny they are in comparison to how big you are able to pick on you and are able to use you and manipulate you and push you to do stupid things because you think that you're this tiny little creature when really you're the opposite. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been saying. It's just ironic because I didn't read that particular note or script of Hermes that you're speaking about there, and it's saying the exact thing what I just explained. That shows that I'm really on point here. Similar to Chris, where I don't really read much, but these days I have to go through thoughts. I have to do. I'm just feeling led to go into these places, so I'm taking the time to actually go and do this. Because most of my information is not from reading; it's from just remembering. It comes like a thought in my mind, and I'm just linking everything together. It's like, okay, this has to go here. Oh, I remember. Okay, let me take note of this. Let me go and research this and see if I get in any hardcore substance in this realm, if it is so or if it's not so. And I'm really having some serious problem with the Barbelo because it's only mentioned in one single book in that particular script. In all the research I've done, there's nothing. I think it has the Buddhas who are aware of her and consider her just as the Nagamati script do, but there's not much information in it. It's like just something has been lost to history. Now, about the human being in this body, we have to remember that, okay, let me tell you our experience. This may help a lot of people in the chat and so on who's listening. It had a time when my wife was in her room and she was experiencing some sort of negative spirits. It was, I don't know what exactly it was, but it was negative. It was making the room vibrate, like seriously vibrate, the bed vibrate, and all these different things. And she did turn on the Titanic song for a Titanic movie, and it made things worse. And she called me and tell me what's going on. I was like, you gotta be crazy. That song has certain frequencies in it that is going to just amplify the situation. I said, take out that song. I send her a WhatsApp with some beats that has a certain level of frequency. I said, play this and give me about 5 minutes. I'm going to come over in my astral body and try and deal with this situation. So she put on the music. It started to kind of irritate the environment a little bit, kind of like wavering. And then I went there and I saw a set of dark shadow beings all around. And what I did, I expanded myself, engulfed the entire room in light. I just think about it and it just happened. I expanded myself. I put the weight. It's almost like the God hand coming down upon those poor little things. It was like I could have feel like I got heavy. I turned to a big flare of light and I'm just coming down, overshadowing everything, and all of them just vanished. And then when it happened, I came back to my body. I messaged her. I say, everything is going now. She's like, yeah, it just went instantly. I was like, yeah, that was me.
Wow. Yeah. Chris and I have had several experiences where, I'm removing implants from him or he's healing me or, and it's really interesting. The only time that there was hesitation or a thought that I can't do this whenever I was working with him is when he had an implant in his heart chakra and that implant was being manipulated by some kind of interdimensional beings. We think it's grays or at least some kind of archonic influence. And the only way that I could get it to come out was to ask his permission. And I didn't even have to ask his permission, though. He instinctively gave me permission, without me even asking for it. And then at that point, I was able to get it out. But yeah, I mean, when you're in that realm with your twin, you're able to do things for them the same way that people ask for help from a god or a goddess during prayer. And it actually works every time.
Yeah.
It doesn't ever not work.
Yeah. Um, Also, I would like to mention those of you who are still now. It's a very difficult thing to understand these things if you never experience leaving your body in any way.
Mm-hmm.
A very nice practice you can try and do. You could use meditation. This is for those of you who want to actually get there and not so much hear the experiences of others, but actually want to experience for yourself. My advice, if you think the brew is too strong for you, then you could do meditation and integrate your meditation into trying to do astral projection practice, where you get accustomed with not being familiarized with the human body, but another type of body. Because that body, when you go in the astral realm, is not your body on the outside. So it's still just another body that you can use within a certain level of realm within the matrix. So what it does, it gives you an overview of things from a different perspective where you will not get to cling to your body and this identity. It makes you remember that, hey, I'm not this person that I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
here. I'm actually, that's just a suit for me to put on.
It's very
It
comforting for
keeps
me.
you, yeah,
Because this body is not me. This broken down body that doesn't work half the time is not who I am. It's the meat suit that I'm currently operating. And that's so comforting to me to know that for a
yeah,
fact.
That is very true. On that note, I want to wrap it up
Yeah.
because I am fading and my jokes are failing.
Oh, I'm starting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to leave the audience with, Matt?
no, that's it for now. It has a lot more that we can touch, but this will go way too long. So, yeah,
Let's set something
that's it
else
for
up
now.
for next month. We'll do
Yeah,
that.
it's no
Mhm.
problem at all.
All right. Awesome. So, any websites, anything like that, Matt? I mean, people are asking if you have a YouTube channel. If
Yeah, that would be awesome
you
if you
should.
did.
If you don't, you should
You
consider
should
starting
consider
one.
making one. Yeah.
At the very least, be a regular guest here on Beyond the Veil
Mhm.
and put some stuff together, man, because you're a wealth of information.
Okay, well, I do have a YouTube channel, but it's not fully developed as yet in terms of I can launch it for public use. Um, I would be putting up some of my notes and studies there in terms of script form, the breakdown. Chris, I'm sure he does a great job at doing those things. Also, soon I would be looking to start to get the ingredients for the ayahuasca and ship out to people. I mentioned that in a group, I think it was last week or so, the last show that you all had. So that is one of the things I'm going to start doing. I will let you all know when to start. Yeah.
Excellent. So, let's do this again very soon. I've got you on Skype here, so we can communicate a lot easier. I'm horrible with emails, as you've learned.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
you really are.
I
Yeah,
am.
you really are.
See, there you go. So please, ladies and gentlemen, anybody who's emailed me, don't take it personally. I promise you, it's not
Right.
personal.
Chris hasn't read that email up till now.
I read the email, but then I just didn't reply. So, you know what happens is I get all these emails and I'm like, okay, I need to reply to this one,
you
and
forget.
then it's not that I forget. It's I'm like, okay, I'll do it after I finish this. Okay, I'll do it after I finish this. I'll do it after I finish this, and then before I know
Time
it,
management.
2 weeks have gone by,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh my god, where did the time go? So
I think it's a combination of time management and misappropriation and ADD or something
ADD,
like
being
that.
married. Well, I'm in the middle
being
of
married.
that,
Yeah.
of the music
You need
project.
an email administrator, someone who can deal with the emails and actually read it through and get your opinion and reply appropriately.
Well, now he has my email, and I'm
Cherie does all the scheduling.
I do all the
So,
scheduling. So I will be in touch with you in the next week to set up the next couple of months of shows, because I think we should have them on once a month.
I think so too.
Yeah. So yeah.
How about the first
Okay.
first Thursday? What's today? Today's the 9th?
Today's the 9th.
Let's see. How about the second Thursday of every month?
Yeah, the second Thursday of every month sounds good to me.
I'm going to put that in my calendar. It's going to sync across all my devices to remind me.
Excellent.
I need to start doing something similar.
Yep.
You know what they say, though? We who stand outside the rim of time dwell not in past or future ages. There is only the now. Behind every good man is a woman rolling her eyes.
Yes.
All right. So, Matt, thank you so much. Give a hug and a kiss to your lovely wife from us, please. And looking forward to speaking again soon.
Yes, I would see I can get her on one of the shows to speak for herself. That'd be great.
I want to hear her ayahuasca experience firsthand, so that would be great if we can do that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Love you, brother.
Chris.
Take care.
Love you.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. If you didn't catch the previous show, we did another 2-hour or 3-hour show earlier today with Michael Feely. So that's why I'm like kind of out of it right now. We're at the 3-hour mark now, and I'm like, all right, time to go. We've done 6 hours of radio, and 6 hours has just sucked to my brain dry.
Same here.
Yep. So, but you guys and gals energize us for sure. So kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be, and we'll see you even further.
Beyond the veil.